So one of the first items I have is the Hahnemühle Expressions watercolour pad. The one that I got, sorry, is the 300 GSM. It is 100% cotton and it is the cold pressed matte. I got this one for £18.45. I did look online, you can get them a bit cheaper on a few online sites. I went into Details, like an actual art shop in Newcastle, and purchased this. I did look online and I believe you can get them from a website called Art Discount, Cass Art and Great Art. I believe Art Discount has a 19% sale on at the moment, so I think you could get this size one of the Hahnemühle for about £7 to £8. The only thing is I didn't check out shipping, so that price was excluding any shipping, so I don't know what it would cost to actually have it delivered. But this one's the 24 by 30 centimeters, so that's roughly around like 9 to 11 inches, and it's quite a chunky, sturdy book. I don't think it is gummed on the side, I think it's just wrapped, but obviously we will have a look into that when I actually open it. Obviously with these watercolour papers being used for wet techniques, whether that be your watercolours, your gouache, any form of water soluble pencils, wax pastels, all those kinds of things, they're supposed to be good to go on this type of paper. They have a light resistant feature, so that's basically for any longevity of any paintings, pictures that you do, just to make them last and stand out more. Specific Expressions watercolour pad comes in 3 sizes, I believe. So there's the 24 by 30, which is what I have. You can get 30 by 40 and you can get a 40 by 50. Prices obviously go up, and I think the biggest one, which is their 40 by 50 centimeters, is around the £26 mark, I think, when I looked online. They come in the cold pressed, the hot pressed, and they come in rough and matte. And I don't know whether you can get a satin finish. You tend to for watercolours, even though they're a bit harder to go in with other products like pencils, with them obviously having more texture to the paper. I do like that kind of rough texture on paper, especially watercolours. I just think they add something. The paper is gummed, I've just checked, so there is a slight section in the middle where you'll be able to put like a palette knife in or some form of flat ruler to be able to unpeel basically the sheet that you need. The only downside to obviously cold press and more rough finishes on paper is, like I said prior, they're really hard. You can't really add like pencils, for instance, on top of your finished product. I just tend to find they just make things a bit more, what would the word, they like basically get like stuck in the little indents, and like it's not like a fine coat that you get when you're using the pencils, so that can be a bit of a problem. I believe you get 20 sheets. Sorry, I've just looked at the thing there. But yeah, it is gummed on the side, so it'll be really good for instance, not getting any paint on the side of your work that you don't want to. It'll prevent any bleed throughs. And also, I've just realised when I was saying that this section is the bit where you go, I've just realised it's not, because I've just noticed there is a small little thing that says, to remove a sheet, please begin here, and it's got a little arrow. It's actually this top part that's got the separate, you'll be able to, I don't know, see there, where you'll be able to get the pages separate. Next item that I got was some of the Daily Rowney Simply water brushes. I think these were £1.95. I do believe you can get them for £1 out of the range as well, and I think you can get them pound shop for like £1.50. You just get 2 sizes. The only reason I got new ones is I lost my thin tipped one last year sometime, and then I had this one left and I use it for plein air painting all the time, these, when I just go out, just because they're really easy to transport. The only issue was this one, like the actual like bit like came apart, so like the water started leaking, so it just became a nightmare. So I was just like, you know what, rather than constantly just getting water everywhere, I will just treat myself to new ones. You get one that's like a finer tip, and then you get a one that is a bit chunkier. They're very soft, like most watercolour brushes or brushes made for gouache, so there's not like any firmness to them, which you don't really want for watercolour, but they're definitely good for light washes. The tubes are transparent, so you will be able to see in the containers or cartridges, whatever you want to call it, how much water you have. That's how you take them off, to fill them with some water. I don't tend to fill past that line, because I tend to find when you go any higher, that's when you sometimes get leakage, or sometimes like too much water comes out of this area. I think different brands do them. I think Jackson's Art do their own versions, these like transportable watercolour brushes. They're just really easy when you go plein air painting, just because obviously, one, they're small, easy to transport. They can literally just go in a pencil case, because obviously these are quite, like I say, if you don't fill them too high, these are quite tight, like to screw on. So I've never personally had any problems until like they start breaking, like with any leaks. They don't tend to leak from this part. It's usually this area that when they get a bit old and used start to leak from. I got some more Poscas. I pretty much have like most of the colours, but they tend to be like in like the, I think is it 3NR, the chunky tip. I've got this PC1M style Posca in like an ivory colour, which you see all the time, and I always say I use them, especially for like fine blades of grass, or if you just want finer detail. I do like putting like odd white highlights and cream highlights on different parts of my artwork. This is in the shade, I don't know whether it will focus, but this is in the shade Red Wine, and it's like a thin fine point tip, if you can see that. I don't know how well my camera's focused, and I do apologise. We will test these out. Anything that I've got to swatch, I will swatch. Yeah, just a fine tip. I thought this would be really good for like autumnal paintings. For instance, like doing any like trees that have any like red leaf foliage, or like pond and like boggy moorland areas where there might be some like types of red blades of grass. Just more urban, autumnal kind of colours, and I thought it'd just be handy to have. And then I don't really have many of the skinniest of the Poscas, which are the PC1MR. They're a pin type Posca. I got light pink and apricot as the two shades. I just thought, I've got a turquoise, I believe, and I've got a yellow, and I think like another type of blue, and I just thought these are kind of two colours that I don't tend to get. As you can see, they're much finer. Sorry if the camera struggles to focus, but they're much finer tipped, and I just tend to find these are really good as well for fine detail. And with the Poscas, obviously they are acrylic markers, like paint markers, so they obviously are really pigmented and stain really well. I'll swatch these as well. They basically just produce a fine refined line for precision. Obviously with them having the extra thin tip, in case obviously in this like metal compartment type thing. The only thing is you have to be a bit gentle with them. Obviously I know they push in and up, but they are a little fine, so I wouldn't like pressing them in is fine, but I wouldn't push too much on sides of them, just because as you can see they're not like they are encased in metal, but this part isn't, to let the acrylic marker through. Just got these two colours because I thought they'd be good for, I don't know, I just thought they'd be good. Basically highlights, skin tone highlights, just things to add on to maybe feathers if I do more tropical birds, I don't know. But I just thought they were cool to have, and I don't tend to get pinks because I'm not a massive pink fan, but as people know, when you paint like skin tones and you paint certain flowers and that, and even like foliage, a lot of the times you don't realise like pinks and oranges are in there, because you're like, well, why would there be pink on it? But really there is, so I just thought they'd be just easy to have. So there was them three. I got two of the Faber Castell Pitt Graphite matte pens. I got a 2B and an 8B. These matte graphite pencils are supposed to be ultra matte for reduced reflection on the paper. They just give basically that, when you use pencil, you'll know yourselves, that like sheen, it's not supposed to like leave that, so they're just fully matte. And I thought they'd be good for pictures, because sometimes when I'm trying to photograph, whenever I've done sketches, obviously the light's easily reflected and it kind of annoys me, so I thought I'd give these ones a go. These, I didn't find the price for these, but I think when I paid in store, I think there were I want to say $2.95 each, $2.65 each, something along that lines. I got all these products that I bought are from Details, an art shop in Newcastle that I always go to. They're supposed to be extra break resistant and carbon neutral wood from certified sustainable forestry. That was what it was stated on their website for these pencils. So they're supposed to be environmentally friendly and water-based varnished. But yeah, it's basically just stops any form of reflection. They're just obviously a matte type pencil. They're supposed to be suitable for writing, drawing and sketching. But yeah, I just thought I'd get two. And I like quite like a chunky pencil sketch sometimes, especially when blending and doing any shading. So that's why I got an 8B and then a 2B for if I just want a bit more precise lines. Finally, I've been wanting to start collecting the Caran Sirenu-Eve NeoColors too for quite a while, but I keep putting off because I'm like, no, save your money and try and just use the product you've got. But anyway, I saw these in Details, and I was, funnily enough, when I was walking to through Newcastle and that, and we were on our way to the art shop, I was talking to my mum about these, the Caran, and I was like, yeah, they're probably like the next thing I'll get. And when I went and saw these were the first things that were laying out, and they weren't there the last time we went, and I was like, oh, it must be a sign. So I think they're about, for singles, because I think there is around, if I remember correctly, I think there's about 70 NeoColors available. That's what it said on Jackson's Art anyway when I looked, and Caran. So obviously this is a 10 pack in it. You get like a yellowy colour, an orange, a red, like a more like pinky magenta kind of colour, a dark purple, and then obviously you have kind of more like a sky blue ultramarine kind of colour, a bit of a, not a sap green, would say more like a viridian, and then a brown, a black and a white. Get 10. At Details they were $19.95. I did look online, and I think each single one on Jackson's Art I think was around the $230, $260 mark. I haven't checked places like eBay and Caran. I think they were roughly the same kind of price, and I think you were looking at like for like the bigger packs around. I'm not even sure if this 10 pack was around £23 on the Caran website. I might have that wrong. So they're made in Switzerland. They're water soluble wax pastels. They're supposed to be versatile, give high pigment concentration. They're supposed to be soft and velvety texture, a bit like crayons, and they're supposed to be suitable for wide ranges of surfaces. Obviously, I only tend to use watercolour paper and at a push sometimes normal sketchbook paper, but this will probably only ever be getting used on normal sketchbook paper and cotton watercolour paper. So we shall see what they're like. But yeah, it was just because they're water soluble and I do like really pigmented bold colours, and I just thought obviously because it's a bit of like a wax pastel, it'd be good to just kind of give it a go. And my mum's got them and other people, I keep seeing them on their channels use them. I was really intrigued, on how they would look and turn out. So I cannot wait to swatch these. This is going to be the swatching part of the video. Obviously, I know I got the Hahnemühle watercolour paper, but obviously it was quite expensive and I don't want to waste a full sheet on just doing swatches. Not to say that it's a waste using paper for swatches. I love doing swatches, but I've got like a book that I've always, if I can kind of fit it in, have designated for swatches. It's nearly full, to be honest, but I've already got my swatches of the Posca anyway. I'll have space for 2 pencils and then I will just fit on something. So let's get into the swatches, my dears. I'm just gonna have to try and find a blank page. I could maybe do them underneath there if there is no more. Got that many swatches. We will continue the Poscas on this side just so I'm not like changing too much. That was the cream one that I was mentioning. That's in the same as the red wine shade. That's the one that I always use pretty much in like every painting video that I ever do. I always use it for highlights, the same as the Jelly Roll white pens as well. So we will swatch these. These are the 1MR and then that is the 1M, so we will do that. So that is them two. That's the apricot and that is the light pink. Oh, that's such a nice colour. I love these like maroony kind of dark red colours. For a lot of years, I'm letting my hair grow out at the moment, but for a lot of years I've had my hair dyed like red. Like I started off as like pillar box red, and then I went to kind of like a more brownie, not a brownie red, sorry. I went to more of like a muted red, and then I went back to a pillar box red, and then I went to like a muted red again, and then I went to like a brownie red like this, and then now I went dark brown, and now I'm like trying to let my hair grow out just I haven't got time at the moment to constantly dye my hair. Sorry for the little rant. I just love these kinds of colours. That's like just gorgeous. So as you can see, even though these were like, those were the 1MR and they're really fine tipped, and then these are like, they're still quite fine tip, but chunkier, a bit like the brush type acrylic markers you can get in the 1M. They do like have really good coverage. Obviously I know there are like an acrylic based marker, so obviously they are going to be more vivid and pigmented, and obviously they don't budge once they are on the paper. Only thing you have to be careful with Poscas is obviously when you go over too many times, if you haven't let the first swatch or colouring in that you're doing dry, the paper does sometimes come up. Even sometimes on really good, like you can have like 100% really thick cotton watercolour paper, you can have really expensive sketchbook paper, but it will always do this kind of like movement of the paper and buckle if you don't kind of just let it dry first. I was being a bit quick there and kept going over it. So just that's for the only point of that I would make for that, for the Poscas. This was shade red wine. I don't know why I highlighted that, just so people know. Like I say, I use Poscas all the time. I usually tend to, whenever I do watercolour paintings, I tend to do like a light wash of watercolour or gouache, and then sometimes if the paper's hot pressed and there's no texture to the paper, or like it's like sketchbook paper like the Sea White or the Royal Talons that can handle a little bit of water-based product, I will go in with colouring pencils like the Polychromus or even the Stabilo or the Conte Paris, like any of them type of charcoaly pencils as well. But if not, if the paper's a bit more textured, I tend to always go in with the Faber Castell Gold Faber jewel markers, because they're water based as well, or the Lyra markers, with them also being water soluble. And then on top of that, once it's all dried, I would go in with like Posca markers just for like more vibrancy, and if you want like detail that kind of stains, like it's not gonna budge, that's kind of when I'll go in with the Poscas. These are obviously the Faber Castell Pitt matte. So this is 2B. A little bit of blend, and then we'll just do a quick I know this is no good, I'm just trying to draw something so you can see. So as you can see, I don't know whether you'll be able to see it in this light, but there's like no sheen to it, which will be brilliant if I'm doing any sketches and I just want to photograph it, because sometimes obviously it reflects. So that was the 2B, and then 8B is this one. A bit more darker, I would say. And then we'll see for blends. Which finger did I use? A little bit of blend. You'd probably be easier using one of the little paper stump type blending things, these, to maybe blend it out. We can give it a go. Yeah, it blends out much easier with that, but they're not the easiest to blend, I would say. You can get some fine lines as well with it. I don't know why I always go with the eye type thing. That is the 8B. So yeah, they seem like they'll be really good. Going to be quite effective to use, because obviously if you don't want any reflection when you're photographing, I mean, there's probably like some form of camera lens or something you can do if you professionally take photos of your artwork to make the reflection go, but I do not have that. I just literally use my iPhone's camera to video, photograph, everything art related. So it'd be easier just to use these so there's no reflection back when I'm trying to take photographs of my art. So next we're going to swatch the 10 NeoColors that I've bought. Obviously I'm going to do a whole page for this because I will be getting more of these. I don't know whether I'm going to be... Oh, come with stickers. I don't know why, but that's cute. With little stickers, and they come with a little creative class type thing. Discover Creative Class by Caran, a platform for creative online courses. We're going to swatch these, and we'll do that. I'll do all the swatches first without the water. We're going to do the wet side. I'm going to swatch them. It doesn't look like there's anything there, but there is white. I'm going to just use my normal cotton. I was going to use these, but we will just... Oh, I am pleasantly surprised how easy they transition. That is all 10 swatched. I just need to obviously put the names on that side, but that is what they look like with the wet. I'm actually quite surprised how easy how soluble they are. I feel like I barely put the brush on and they really blend really easy. I'm not shocked that it was a bit hard to blend out the strokes of the brown, because out of all of them, they were all pretty velvety, like what the website states about them, and creamy when I was doing the swatches, especially the yellow and these kind of like boldy colours. The brown, however, it was the same as the rest, but it was a bit more like chalky feeling compared to the other shades, if that makes any sense. So obviously I know they're supposed to be wax pastels, but out of all of them, that one was almost drier to swatch, if that makes any sense. So it doesn't surprise me that it was a little bit harder to blend out. Obviously pigment wise, obviously the side without any water is the most pigment, and they seem the most, obviously they're more pigmented and vibrant on the side where there is no water. With water they do lose a little bit of their pigment, some colours more than others. Obviously the black isn't as opaque as for, let's say, the yellow. The brown does have a little bit of lightness to it, but I feel like if you went over the top in that, I don't know whether what it would be like putting a swatch on top and then adding more water. That might bring up the pigment a bit more. Obviously the pink and the purple's a little bit on the light side as well. I definitely think the yellow and the blue is my favourite out of them. Then when it comes to just swatching them, I literally love like them. Obviously you need all kind of colours, but these ones I would say are definitely my favourite. Usually I'm a massive fan of green, because green is my favourite colour, but that kind of green I do tend to find is a little harder sometimes to use, because obviously plants don't have that much of like a blue tone, would you say? There's a little bit of red in kind of like plant life, I tend to find, in the green. But the yellow is definitely one of my favourites. I just think it's really like sunny and vibrant, and it's like perfect colours for summer. Yeah, I'm really impressed. They definitely are very creamy, very velvety, easy to swatch. I could picture these being really handy to use and add on top of artwork as well, like what I do with the Faber Castell Gold Faber aqua markers and the Poscas. I definitely could see these going on top. I don't know whether I would use the Caran just for the picture itself. I maybe might do, I would use the water soluble part probably for backgrounds. Whatever watercolour product or gouache product I've used, I can't almost help myself. I always go in with some form of marker, some form of pencil, something on top. But I'm so excited to use these. I definitely think I'll have to make a video of just using these and seeing how they go on top of a painting and how they work. I'm just going to quickly fill in the names and then I will give you a last shot of this swatch. So guys, that is the end of the video. Obviously the Caran are all swatched out. I've swatched the Poscas and the Pitt artist. That is pretty much everything I bought when I went to details, other than the Hahnemühle watercolour paper, which I obviously mentioned prior that I'm not going to obviously use in this video. Don't want to waste the paper when I can do paintings. So I definitely think I'll use the Hahnemühle in the next painting video and potentially try these out. I'm really tempted to see how they look on top of different pieces, whether I use the water soluble aspect or just leave them as they are as a wax pencil. Obviously I know I didn't try these out, but I will find the video I use them for plein air painting and link it down below. But obviously I know a lot of people in our community use these when travelling and going plein air painting anyway, so I doubt they need much explanation more than I already said. But just in case you're interested, I will link it down below. But that is everything guys. If you did enjoy the video, give it a like, really does help my channel, and feel free to comment down below any items that you have or use, or if you like the Poscas or the Caran or any different types of art products. I always do love to read the comments. If you have any techniques or things that you do with the Caran that I haven't mentioned and you feel like would be a good tip or something to try out, do let me know as well. I always like trying different techniques with our products. But yes, without further ado, I hope you guys, if I get this video out on time, I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your weekend. If it ends up getting posted later, I wish you all the best for the new week coming. Just because I don't know when I'm going to get this out, because I am going in for my wisdom teeth out and I will be all gammy and ill and in pain, so I don't know when this is going to get out. It depends how long it takes me to edit. But yes, without further ado guys, I will see you all later and see you next week, and I hope you have a lovely day.